Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC.
Sorry, I wasn't recording on my side.
Cringing already? We're not even talking about it yet.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny. That is Dan.
Stop. We talked about this.
And that is Sylvanas.
You can point down for me. That's fine.
You're
I'm
Sylvanas
always below
today.
you guys.
You're Sylvanas today, okay?
Oh my god.
You're an evil woman who is conquering the world of Warcraft, okay?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm down for that.
I mean, Sylvanas is pretty awesome.
Sweet.
I mean, yes, she commits war crimes, but that's beside the point.
But she's undead, so does it matter?
Yeah, who cares?
I
if
mean,
you live forever.
If you're
Or don't live
undead
forever,
and
I
you're
guess.
burning alive like this entire race of night elves, I mean, maybe a little
Or burning
bad,
alive
but-
like this entire season of Flash? Oh!
Nice.
Nice.
I brought it around!
This show sucks now.
so bad.
Oh my god. This is the first time I have made it through Savitar. I have made it through The Thinker. I have made it through We Are Flash. And this
yeah.
is the first time watching this show that I debated just turning it off.
Same.
Yeah.
I hate the use of the word cringe in this day and age because people are like, you mispronounced something, and I cringe because I picture cringing as like going, oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I legit had that reaction to, hey, big sis. So let's talk about Flash Family Matters. Because I have
boy.
so much to say about this. So just to catch you up real quick, in the plot of The Flash right now, Flash and Iris turned off the artificial Speed Force, which basically created these Force Wars. We have Strength Force, Sage Force, Still Force, and Speed Force.
Speed Force.
These abilities went into individuals, and it was heavily implied 2 episodes ago that Barry and Iris were going to see them as their kids. And somebody said Iris doesn't have to be baby crazy to like babies, and I agree with that, but she definitely was acting baby crazy. And the line's more up in this episode, but we'll talk about that. Where she was basically like, no, these are my kids. I have to take care of them. And we all stated, wow, I hope they don't continue down this route.
And they like triple down. Like they unabashedly just went for it.
So this whole 2 episodes is about Barry convincing his kids.
I'm like cringing on the inside just speaking for the record of going his kids. And the brother and sister.
So let's clarify
sorry.
real quick. Because you said it best, Dylan. The powers went into individuals that are aged between 20 to 40. I think the Sage Force guy is in his late 30s. Like, he did not look young.
No.
Either that or these days he's probably like some high school kid that just like somehow looks like a 40-year-old man.
But then Nora is obviously in her early to late 40s. The girl that the woman that plays Nora. So we have full-grown adults, some of which look older than Barry and Iris. And Barry and Iris are calling them their children, unironically. These individuals with these powers are constantly referring to each other as big and little sis and bro and big bro. It reminds me of like some weird slice of life anime. Big bro, you know.
And it's like the biggest issue with it, because if you're going to use that specific language, fine, but you have to treat it with like the obvious like awkwardness and just like it has to be ironic. Like the fact that nobody, including like Cisco,
Joe!
isn't like, this is weird.
Joe doubled down on it. Like,
Yeah.
like, and that, I think that's what blew my mind. It's, look, if you want to play that up as like we're trying to imply that they're family members and you make 1 or 2 comments, that's fine. But the entire 2 episodes, they were constantly referring to each other as mom, dad, sis, little sis, big bro. And not only that, but ironically and unironically, well, there's our dad. But then they'd follow up with, hey, dad. Like, dude, don't even know what lane we're in.
No. It's like the Sage Force. I feel like almost the Sage Force actor like knew how stupid it was and was trying to get little little like jabs in on there, but the
And
script
luckily
was
for
like
him, his
completely
character's
different.
sarcastic and it works for him. So he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't like this, but it works.
But
The
everyone
core
else
of
is
the
like, yeah, I
plot,
get
I
this.
was on. If you haven't caught on right now, this is not going to be a positive review of these two episodes.
No, it's not. I don't know if you can make a positive review out
No,
of this.
I went to the subreddit. I went to the Flash subreddit because I was curious. The whole subreddit hates the show right now. So,
So we're not alone. It's not like we're
No.
the three lone guys that are like, "What is
Yeah.
wrong with this?"
No, it's not like with Invincible where like most people really like that, and you, me, and Sal Benny are just kind of like the misers who weren't as into it. No, everyone hates this show right now, as far as I
The-
can tell.
The very core plot was fine up until the resolution. So, okay, so real quick, I'm going to bring a couple things. I want to get you guys' opinions on this first, okay? We'll get to how this plot resolves. I was on board at the plot up until the final resolution. We're going to talk about that first. So the plot in general is they think that Nora is trying to kill the Force members because because she just wants to take control. They hide them in a different time period, which, by the way, they're like, we're going to go hide them in an obscure time period. And Iris is like, I have to go. They're my responsibility.
No, it's
What?
in the Speed Force.
Yeah.
She took them to the Speed Force when it was dead. So how?
But not only that, Iris is on board with going in, and no one's like, you can't do anything. She's like, I have to go. They're my responsibility. They have so much more power than you, and
They gave her an orb.
you have the orb that lets them go back. It wasn't even like it was a weapon.
Run away if Nora shows up.
Like, it's not even like they didn't get. Why would they like? Here's the orb to return home. And an assault rifle, because it's your only shot.
Yeah, for real. Or like the various like speed guns that
Yes!
they've accrued
Yeah.
over the course of
Iris
this
has
show.
no abilities. What was the plan? If Nora did find them, is she gonna be like, "You're my daughter. I'm a
that's the thing, is
40-year-old
this-
woman."
This whole like season has hinged on the idea that they're not going to fight anyone. Like if Nora showed up, Iris would have been like, "Oh, sit down, little girl. Let mom speak to you and tell you what's correct."
Oh, so that was my first issue because like this whole season was like we finally gave Iris a purpose. Iris was doing the research. Iris was helping with the Speed Force, and now Iris is like, I will fight Nora. Like, what? So that was my first. What the hell's going on? Never mind the fact they would not stop using big sis, little sis, whatever, all that stuff.
Which, for the record, I have a big brother and I have a little sister, and never have I ever referred to them as big bro or little sis. I don't even call them sis or bro in a non-ironic
Andy has
sense
never referred
sometimes.
to me as, "Hey, what's up, bro?" Unironically, like.
Right.
Usually it's like, hey, bro. It's never like, yo, bro, what's up? It's like, wait, what?
It's just such
Why
a
are you calling me
forced
bro? What the
I think the
dynamic.
best thing is, Dylan, I was writing to you all of my reactions as it was happening.
The worst part too is like I hadn't watched the because we're talking about like 2 episodes here. I hadn't watched this week's episode while you were saying that, but you were saying things about this week's episode, and I was like, did that happen? Like I couldn't even remember, and then I watched it and I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about. I just didn't care.
So the plot then turns to, they discover that Nora is not trying to kill them because she wants to kill them, but because they're causing the
For no
problem.
reason.
Which that was where my like up until if you removed all the bro sis stuff, the plot for me at that point was fine. Like, okay, Iris is gonna go try and save them, whatever. That's a common theme with the CW show, that Iris puts herself in positions where she's practically the damsel in distress, but whatever. That's a common theme. Everything up to that point. But they figure that out, and then Iris and Barry are crying because they're bad parents. That was when I was like, I think I need to stop watching this because your children have existed for maybe a week. Like,
Right.
and they're all fully grown adults, which is proven by Sage Force's entire storyline that happens with all of these people that he meets and the discussion of his real parents, which brings it back to what you said, Dylan. They basically, any hope you had that the the forces were controlling people and they were legitimately young kids, out the window when they're like, no, Bashir, your real parents are right here. Like,
and then we also like kind of, I don't think they even mention the fact that they're calling Barry's mother his daughter.
and she's into
they
that.
specifically they had specific plot lines to have Barry get over the fact that the Speed Force looks like his mom, so that he could accept the fact that the Speed Force is now his daughter, but also she looks like his mom.
It just reminded me of that song, like my grandpa's my uncle or whatever. Like I was just like,
now
oh
I'm my
no,
own grandpa.
Yeah, I am my own grandpa kind of a situation. I was just like, oh, and no one is questioning this.
I was going to say that it would have worked so much better if they had just used Nora, the speedster daughter from the future, to be the personification of the Speed Force. Because then you would at least feel a little, I mean, not entirely, but a little more okay with them going, yes, it's my daughter, because it is your daughter, not, yes, it's my daughter that we've spent half the season talking about how you look like my mother.
And previous seasons where she basically is his mother.
Yeah.
And it's such a strange that like they can't make up their mind of what they want to do, because if you could make the same amount of argument that the Speed Force is Barry's mom within the logic of the show that the Speed Force is Barry's daughter, within the logic of this
I'm your
garbage
creator,
show.
Barry.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just there's also so many like weird convoluted like nonsense about like, so is this new Speed Force, they don't have as much control over Barry because Barry is an avatar of the Speed Force, but the Speed Force is the Speed Force, so why can't the Speed Force just take away Barry's powers if he's being naughty? Like,
Can we also talk about how she just decided to go all emo midway
Yes,
through
I
the
was
second
going to say
episode?
that. The look, like, what are you doing? That
She has a
was
torn
like
trench coat. A torn trench coat. I'm like, this isn't even like we just put on dark clothing. You put on a torn trench coat.
I have a theory on that.
Okay,
that
let's hear it.
I've thought about a little bit while we've been discussing this. I think, and this is a little bit conspiratorial, I think this episode was rewritten in its last hour, and they reshot the resolution to this episode. I think initially Nora was going to be the big bad, and that's why they changed her look. And then they decided to not do that and to shove this plot line as far away from the limelight as possible because they saw the ratings of the last few episodes.
I can see it. I can
And,
see it
like-
because it definitely feels like a lot of what was in this episode could have been stretched out. Like the first time that they go to the house, it's like 2 minutes. It's
Yeah.
like they show up and they're like, yes, we all belong here. This is going to be good. And then like 2 seconds later, the two forces are like, we're leaving. I'm going to manipulate you into giving me the orb.
Yeah.
Like,
The big cringe moment for me, though, was when they were crying because they said, we don't know if we can be good parents because of how bad our kids are doing. Now, at this point in the plot, we've established that the forces are causing the problem, but we've not established that it's the avatars. So like, we don't know if it's Bashir and Alexa or whatever their
Right.
names are. We also haven't established why, like, Iris and Barry are legitimately upset because their kids are causing the end of the world. And they're like, we can't be good parents, Iris. What have we done wrong? And then I thought Joe was then going to be the voice of reason and step forward. And, he's like, but you guys don't realize. And I thought he was going to be like, they aren't your kids. This is like elemental forces and blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, it takes a whole family to raise the kids. Like, where's the message going?
Nobody knows what they're saying in this show. It's all over the place.
Is your argument that now it's the Flash family? Are we back to We Are Flash?
I think so. Because if we want to jump ahead a little bit, the last word of this episode is impulse.
oh my gosh.
So they're going there.
That was the most forced
I know.
reference I have ever heard in my
that's
entire
a little
life.
impulsive.
Iris says, I would like to have sex now, and Barry goes, I like that impulse. Like,
Like-
what? Who says that? We get it. You're putting Impulse in the show.
But I also love that this is the first time after Nora, after the kids, that now Iris is like, maybe we should just have our own kid. I mean,
Yeah.
Which I called that. I said that she was going to be pregnant by the end of this plot line. So, maybe I don't know, because I feel like this episode and this season has been rewritten in a certain aspect, but I don't know. It might just be bad. And it just
are
seems that
Bashir and
way.
Alexa gone? Because like that was the plot point I told you. The Alexa thing went from like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing to like, and now she has control of it, and she's gonna use it once, and
Right.
it's over. Like what?
And then now they're in a house, and
Now they're not.
they're faster, Barry, but they're staying in this house that doesn't exist, and it's outside of time and space, and we're never going to
wrapped
mention
up
them again.
so quickly. And I'll give credit to this episode. The one thing that I thought they did good was, and they ruined it immediately, but when Psyche like mind whammied the Speed Force and the cut that they made between like all of the noises just to silence immediately, that was good. That was a good like tonal shift. I was like, oh, this is cool. But then she started screaming about being alone and not wanting to be alone, even though she's the Speed Force and has been alone for eons before this.
My God, they even unlocked like a new power for Bashir, for Sage.
Yeah, in this episode, they were just like, because the last episode ended with them like all dying, and then this one they were like, oops, nope, that was a hallucination that I made. I learned I could do
Oh,
that.
it was an illusion.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah,
created
illusion.
a full-on illusion, was what they
The
were
Nora
saying. Yeah.
thing just blew my mind, though, that they were treating her like she was the daughter. She's like, my brothers and sisters. I'm like, no. Can you please change forms if we're gonna do this? Because if I go to anyone, and I'm like, yeah, this guy named Barry and this girl named Iris, they have kid. They're calling these four individuals their kids, but they're fully grown adults. And this one used to be called their mom, and now they're calling her kid. You're gonna go to me and go, Ben, is that a weird sex thing? Like,
That's a good point. It does kind of have that like weird. It's just so strange.
Oh my gosh. What are you doing there, step bro? No, I'm just kidding.
that's what I mean. Like,
I really hope that they are kind of like pushing this away now. I don't know if that was their intention, or if this was reshoots or whatever. I'm sure we would know if there were reshoots. Usually we can learn about that stuff, but it's. I hope that they are actually just kind of throwing these characters in this plot line away, in favor of something else.
It sounds, from the way it looks like they're going, okay, let's put this off to the side where we can make an excuse and a reason for why it's not going to affect anything, but keep them around so that when we need a plot point that we can bring in all the different kind of forces to fight against the big bad, they are there, and we don't have to be like, oh, well, we brought them back to life. No, they've just been in this house with no TV this whole time.
I'm just looking at the subreddit now, and you're right. They are not having a good time. I like hidden Easter egg, original show's title card, the pep talk. Like,
if they're not careful, there was a time I remember in I think season 5 or one of the worst seasons of Arrow where
Yeah.
the Arrow subreddit turned into a Daredevil subreddit for like an entire season because they hated the show so much.
hold on. I gotta mention this. So the fan base has gone into the Flash TV show wiki to add family members to each of the forces. So it says like Barry Allen father. But instead of like paternal or replace, it says father cringe. Iris mother cringe. Speed Force sister cringe. Bashir brother cringe.
Nobody's on board with this. Nobody wants it.
The whole wiki is turning against them.
Which like I don't like. I guess I have to go to Tumblr to find the people that are okay with all of this stuff and never Benny, you and Shank had that conversation about toxic positivity over on PSG. Like those people who even during the worst parts of Arrow were like, Felicity is the best thing on the planet. We love her. It's like I'm sure those people still love the show, but good lord.
what blows my mind, and we all like this show. We've watched this since the beginning, so this isn't like we're anti-Flash
Watch
viewers.
7 seasons of it.
Yeah, I've watched every season of The Flash.
Yeah.
What blows my mind the most about this, I don't even remember where I'm going with this. It's just so much cringe.
It's such like a sudden shift in quality.
Yes.
Is
And a sudden shift
unbelievable.
in like writing quality, direction, tone.
Yeah. It seems like they just straight up like swapped out the entire like screenwriter people. Like they were just like, all right, so you guys are doing a good job. You're fired. We're bringing in these people who have been interns for a while and don't entirely know proper story structure. So let's put them in.
But the thing that blows my mind is this. I constantly argue that CW shows, the Disney Plus shows, look, I might not like it, but there's a demographic for it. I don't know who this demographic is this time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I constantly say things of Flash. Like, I get why this element was in there. There's a fan base that likes this. But looking at this wiki, looking at this subreddit, who was like, yo, we just want more adult children for Barry and Iris.
Yeah. What is
The
that?
older you make them, the better.
It's like let's do the Nora daughter season, like make the weirdness even worse, and then don't give a time travel reason for her actually being like a blood relative.
Well, I mean, Dan and I constantly said like her whining like a 13-year-old kid was so weird, but at least there was that time travel element. Like you could at least excuse. Okay, there's a weird time travel. She didn't have her parents. It's still really weird, but whatever.
And the whole they were actually her parents.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were also actually her parents. So as cringe as that got at times, you could be like, all right, well, I don't know what I would have done if my 20-something-year-old daughter showed up. This just doesn't even make sense. And it just makes, I know I said Iris baby. No, it makes Barry and Iris baby crazy, basically, what it looks like. Where they're willing to accept anybody that will show up and be like, I'm your kid. Oh my God, you're so incredible.
Finally.
Yeah, this is my daughter.
No, they evolved from that. They no longer go, someone show up and be like, I'm your kid. Now people just show up and they're like, you're my child. Deal with it.
That's where it's gone.
You have no choice in the matter.
We created your powers. You are my kid.
Yeah, what about now? I just thought of this now. What about all of the people, like the bus metas that they created? How come they weren't Barry's kids? Like Barry and Star Labs have created so many more powered people. How come they're not his kids?
Because that's the
It's
entire
actually in the
rationale
next
behind
episode, Extended Family Matters.
this. We created your powers, so you're our kid. Like that doesn't like.
Nope.
Hold on. I got this. Dan, Dylan, I currently fund your paychecks, so therefore I fund your lifestyle, so I'm your dad. So
Oh, great.
You know what, Benny? That's not the best example because of the fact that multiple times you have referred to me and Houston as your kids before.
But ironically, that's the worst part.
Yeah, that's the difference.
For the record, though, Dion, something about him wearing those gloves just made him very... I could not take him seriously at any point because he looked like he was constantly wearing these leather driving gloves with his Letterman jacket. And I'm like, why are you wearing gloves?
Dion
does
was one
that?
of the weirder ones. Like, I'm just going to hide in time.
It's
I like
hot
this
out.
too. Here's another one. Remember when Barry was able to save Oliver Queen on his own in Arrow Season 2? Or how he and Supergirl got themselves out of a musical dream? I need to see Barry do more CSI and more fighting. Where is the Barry that actually knows how to do things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to do anything in this season. Like they decided after the like actual ending of season 6, they just decided that they were gonna like baby talk everyone into not fighting anymore, and now nobody does anything ever.
You know, one of the greatest scenes that it references this. I was just having a discussion with Sal about the movie Justice Society, where Barry Allen goes back in time and meets the Justice Society. He grabs an enemy at one point, and he goes, "Tell me where such and such is." And the guy goes, "I will never talk." And Barry punches him 100 times in 1 second. The guy falls and goes, "I give up."
Awesome.
Where's that Barry? Like,
Non-existent. Never seen it. 'Cause I was
I
thinking
would
back
love
the
to
same
see
thing.
that.
Like because the ending of this episode like reminded me of the ending of season 1.
yeah.
which was like just like such a better ending. Where in season 1 he does a similar thing and then he gets lost in time or whatever. He goes into the Speed Force, I think. And then this episode ends and it's just like, wow, we Care Bear stared our problems away, and our problems don't even really make sense.
It's funny because I like the fact that these seasons are now doing these like shorter arcs that we can get through in a hurry, because it also allows us to look at this and go, thank God that was like 7 episodes and we're done. Like,
Let's move on, please. I really hope we do, because I do think like a lot of this is like one writer had an idea and they for the Force Wars that would like, because the Force Wars is something that if you give it the amount of time it got in the comics, it could last an entire season. But they were like, no, we don't want to do that, so wrap it up real quick. And they had one idea, they were like, yep, let's run with that, and they just wrote it in like a day. Like all these past 4 episodes.
I mean, I'm sorry if you were a fan of it and you were really hoping that there, at some point we were gonna stop nitpicking this, but
yeah.
At least it's all in like one, because most the grunt of it was the previous 2 episodes, and we kind of talked about both in this one video. Mm-hmm. So hopefully next week they jump right into the Impulse stuff, and we move on to that.
And you know what? When Impulse shows up and acts like they're his parents, and they're like, "Oh my God, our son!" At least Impulse is like what it looks to be 13 from the actor, so at least it'll actually work this time.
Yeah, won't be as frustrating. Which, I mean, we're still gonna have like echoes, like PTSD of the every time Barry says "my son."
Right.
Okay. Last Reddit read. It shows, it took me 7 seasons to understand this line, and it shows the first appearance of Thawne, and he goes, in many ways, you've shown me what it's like to have a son.
Fair enough.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, all right. Well, hope you enjoyed our cringe fest. I don't know. This has been Absolutely Marvel in DC. That's Dan, and that's Sylvanas, and we'll see you guys next time right here.